Welcome back to the Women in Sports series. I'm your host, Brianna DeBose. Thank you for coming to join us today. It's Friday. It's beautiful outside. We're here on Black Sports Network with Dr. Nefertiti Walker, who's the Interim Vice Chancellor for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Chief Diversity Officer of UMass Amherst and Associate Professor of Sport Management. Such a title. God, I love it. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nef. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be here. I'm excited for this discussion. Like you said, it's a beautiful day. It's Friday. I feel like Fridays is like the perfect day to have, a podcast discussion. It's not in the middle of the week when things are crazy.
It's like a come down. Everybody's just like, we're transitioning into the weekend. Like, let's just, vibe out and have a great conversation. To kind of start off, I just want to, this past year has been crazy enough. It's been heartbreaking, a lot of mixed emotions. 2021, we're kind of starting to see a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Now, please share with us any 2021 goals and exciting upcoming news that you have going on.
Absolutely. So I feel like there's so much going on in 2021. I feel like I always have so much going on in my life, but this year in particular. So I've been working on a book. Probably 2 or 3 years. I've been thinking about the book. I've been talking about the book. I've been writing a little bit here and there with my co-author. His name is David Barry. He's an economist, a professor at Southern Utah University. And we finally, this past December 2020, we finally signed the contract with a literary agent. And she is now out pitching our book to publishers.
That's amazing.
So we're excited. We're hoping this year we will get, our contract with the publisher, and we're hoping by the end of 2021, our book will come out, though we don't have a contract with the publisher yet. So we don't have a date. This book is, we're excited about it. Like I said, we've been talking about it, writing about it, meeting about it for over 2 years now. So to be so close to the end is really exciting. The book is called, at least for now, Women Do Sports. And essentially what we're doing in the book is we're debunking sexist myths about women in sports. So each chapter is like attacking a myth. So the myth that no one wants to watch women's sports, we attack that with data. We have research that shows that, people are interested in watching women's sports. We have Gallup data that shows that, there are over 60 million women who self-identify as fans of sports. So the idea that women aren't sports is just, it's just not true. It's just a sexist myth that people like to spread because they're sexist. So that's really excited about that. And I mean, if you think about that one myth, this past summer 2020, WNBA, National Women's Soccer League, both outperformed men's sports as far as viewerships and people watching the game. So again, I think that's one myth that we attack. That's a lot of fun to write about in the book. We talk about, the myth of the marketplace determining interest in women's sports, which isn't true. Men in leadership determine who watches what. Marketers determine who watches what. They make decisions, what's on TV, and then they support those decisions with data, right? So, that's another one that we spend a chapter just sort of attacking that myth. So I won't go through the whole book because I could. I'm so excited about it that I love talking about it. But that's sort of the thesis of the book: attacking sexist myths, attacking the trolls, shutting down the trolls.
I hate the trolls.
So I know we don't like the trolls. So this is an opportunity to shut them down with data. And, we're writing the book for women and men that are allies to women who love women's sports. Like we're writing the book for those folks so that they have the data, they have the narratives to shut down trolls, whether you're at a bar, having a beer or eating and watching a WNBA game and you have some troll that wants to change the channel, or whether you're on Twitter and getting attacked by the trolls. So yeah, I'm most excited for that.
That's exciting because, and it's so timely because, the past 24 hours alone, I don't even know if you've been seeing what's been going on, but It's been absolutely crazy. So for people that don't know, basically like the disparities in the NCAA tournament in March Madness, there's just so many layers to it, but specifically the women's side versus the men's side and just access to resources and, from gear to, weight room stuff, and probably more is coming out. All of it, deals, all of it, like coverage, everything. Like, I don't even know when the games start. I've seen March Madness for men just like boo, 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 just everywhere. So kind of going back to your point of just coverage, marketing, who controls what. If your leadership is predominantly white and predominantly male, they're going to play like things that are, in that wheelhouse. So
absolutely.
Yes, very, very timely book. And I can't wait to read it when it comes out. I'm happy that you're doing it. Now, within your current role, and you do a lot of different cool things, please tell us just about the significance of being a Black woman in this space of D&I and sport management, and, essentially the importance of your contributions to the field in terms of like research and stuff.
Yeah, that's a big question. That's a big question.
Well, we could start with part one, like this, like your significance, right? Being a Black woman in this space.
Yeah. And, I don't know why I still feel uncomfortable talking about my significance. I'm like, I'm just Neff. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm just Neff. I'm just trying to do my thing. I'm researching stuff that I love. I love sports. I love basketball. I love culture. I love Black women, and I'm researching that stuff, right? So for me, it doesn't feel like a big deal. But then when I talk to people about it, I'm like, wow, people haven't heard these stories before. People haven't heard, these strategies for being more inclusive to Black women before. I did a talk this past week, actually, with University of Oklahoma, their athletic department. And the point of that talk was they asked me to come in and talk about the experiences of Black women in sport and how they can create an athletic department that's more inclusive and values Black women in sport, which I thought even them coming to me to want to have that conversation was powerful. And I feel like, the importance of my role or my position is that I have lived the idea of holding multiple marginalized identities. I am a Black person, a woman. I am married to a woman. I have a younger brother that's disabled. I have so many intersecting identities that I identify with that absolutely, like, it basically narrates my life. Like, I have to understand how identity influences perceptions, organizations, feelings of inclusion. And I feel like that perspective is needed. Like you said already, most of these sport organizations are led by white men. Historically, they have been led by white men. So decisions have been made through that lens, through that perspective. So, being someone who has the opportunity to talk to sport organizations, to talk to athletic directors, to talk to CEOs of companies, executive teams, and give them the perspective of a Black woman, and to give them the perspective of Black folks and women, both separately as well as intersecting, I think is just such a different perspective and lens for them, and to give them actual steps and strategies as to how to be inclusive to these particular groups, I think is just really important in and of itself, right? So I don't think, I'm not the type that I'm ever going to be like, I am important, but I think the work that I do and the lens that I bring to the work that I do is important, important to sport, is important to organizations outside of sport that I consult and work with, because I don't think you can actually build an inclusive culture unless you have those perspectives and lenses in leadership. And if you don't have them in leadership, then you have to bring those voices into the leadership and into that space, however you do it. But if you don't have it in leadership and you're not bringing them into that space, then you can't be inclusive. You can try your best. You can do everything you want to, you think you should be doing. You can read all the books, but until you have those voices at the table, you're not going to be as inclusive as you could be or should be.
Absolutely. I mean, diverse perspective is everything, right? You can't just say one thing, but then do another or not implement stuff. Like, how does that even work? Um, it's very important, to say the least. I mean, we're seeing it play out in everything that we're doing, and I'm happy these conversations are kind of being held, even though it's almost like a delayed response. It's a reactive response, to say the least, right? Because we've known about this. This has been society forever, since the dawn of time.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about it. Now it's like, oh man, this stuff is looking bad. Like, we have to say something. It's kind of like how the NCAA basically reacted yesterday and was like, oh yeah, we're going to get more equipment for the women's on the women's side. It wasn't enough space. But the athletes were already like, yo, don't even try that. There's space over here. We're recording. We're playing over here. Like, just the receipts. So it looks bad, but at the end of the day, it's like, if you don't call out these institutions, right, whether it be in research or whether it just be on social media or whatever, like, sometimes you got to get to action, because they won't do anything unless you call them out.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I think, with the NCAA and what we've seen the last, like you said, 24 hours with, the whack meals that they're trying to serve these
oh,
women.
I forgot about that part. The meals are looking disgusting.
Yeah, the dry pancakes, the unseasoned eggs that they're trying to serve these women that are supposed to be going out and competing at the highest of levels is just unacceptable. And I think, as much as they can say, oh, we're going to make it better, what they did is they showed us where their priorities lie. Right. And their priorities lie with men's basketball. Absolutely. And they put tons of energy. They prepared to the highest, degrees and highest levels. They came ready for the men's tournament, and for the women's tournament, they showed up with dry pancakes and a rack of weights. Basically. And it's like, anything they say from here on out, great. I'm glad you're trying to fix it, but you've now showed us your priorities, which means that people in positions of power need to look deeper. Like, let's pull back the curtain. Let's see how they're performing in other aspects. Let's see how they're treating women in other sports. Let's make sure that they're prioritizing women at the same level as they're prioritizing men.
Absolutely. I mean, you hit it on the nail, because they didn't even think initially, like, they didn't even put the thought in to say, oh yeah, we should make sure everything's equal, make sure everything's good on both sides. It was like, no. I honestly think the ratio was like 25 to 75. Honestly, I would give it like 80-20 at this point. Just in terms of resources, it was low. The disparities were bad. And for me, I'm like, dang, y'all doing this during Women's History Month, right? We're out here in the past year that we've had. And I mean, that kind of is the perfect segue into the next topic that I want to talk about with you, because it is Women's History Month, which is really significant, and we should feel celebrated and everything. Please tell us, like, what's something that has made you feel celebrated and affirmed, with all your identities as a Black woman. How have you kind of felt celebrated this past month? It can be something small or big.
Yeah, I would say this moment, right? I mean, sitting here with you and being able to have this conversation, having the space, having the opportunity to have this conversation, to talk about Blackness, to talk about being a woman with someone with similar identities. I think that in of itself is powerful. I mean, this is going to, be produced as a podcast. It's going to be shared with folks, the video, the audio. Like, this to me is super important and affirms the importance of Black women in this space. So I'll start with that. I think also just all of the energy that I feel on social media around, Women's History Month, around women's basketball, around, what we call Black girl magic, like all of these things just affirm, me being in this space and doing this work. This morning, I did a workout with Tundi from Peloton, right? Being able to, and I feel like Tundi is like my personal trainer. I know she's not. I know she trains millions of people, right? But there's something about being able to, get on Peloton, do a workout with this, beautiful Black woman, and she's playing hip hop music in the background, right? And I'm doing it with, a couple of my colleagues, Black professors, Black professionals in the D&I space, and we're all waking up together at 6 a.m. to do this workout. Like there's something just incredibly affirming about that. So yeah, I feel like I intentionally seek out spaces, people, opportunities to affirm both my identities that I have, the multiple identities that I have and that are salient to me, but also to affirm the work that I'm doing.
Absolutely. I'm happy that you feel affirmed and that you feel celebrated, because that matters. That's so significant. I mean, it just literally improves your quality of life if you feel like you're in a safe space, conducive to growth, and just, you feel like you're supported. It is everything. So I'm happy that you found that during Women's History Month, and I'm happy that we were a part of it, because our whole goal is to celebrate women in sports and celebrate all the significant milestones that you all have and everything that you all have to push through, right? Because it's not easy, right? These spaces, these institutions have been, I'm sounding like Meghan Markle at this point, institution in the firm, but these things have been around. Yeah, she was going in on the firm, but these things have been around for a long time, and women, specifically Black women, are breaking barriers, and I love to see it, and it just is everything to me. Now, my last question for you, my last kind of topic, before we get into some quick fire questions, because I still have those. But, please share some advice to up and coming female academics that want to be in this space of sport management and D&I. For people that don't know, who aren't in academia, like it can seem like it's like this just towering figure sometimes. And it's like, do I want to join that? The politics, trying to gain tenure, trying to do all these different things. And you are doing it, right, with all your intersections and bringing all that to the table. So please share some advice to up and coming female academics who want to join this space and join this fight.
Yeah, I would say the first, I have lots of advice, right? Because I've been doing this for a while now, and I've had, moments where I feel absolutely supported, and it's been easy to do this work. And I've had moments where I feel like I'm all on my own, and it's so incredibly difficult to do this work. And I would say that one of the first things that I did that really was instrumental to me being who I am today and doing the work that I'm doing at this level is that I found the support that I need. So my advisor, he supported me. I mean, he was, back then when I was doing my dissertation, I wanted to study women coaching men in basketball. And everyone was like, what are you talking about? No one cares. That doesn't happen. Where is that? It doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. You need to find something else. And I was like, no, I want to study this. At the time I was still hooping a lot. I was playing with men all the time. And I'm like, why don't women who are more concerned with money go coach men? Because they're going to make double their salaries, right? Right.
Triple sometimes.
And I triple sometimes, right? To do the same exact job. You're looking at women and men's college basketball, the same exact job essentially. And the men are getting paid double, triple, 4 times. So I'm like, there's some women out there that just want to get paid. Why don't they go to the men's side? That was was sort of the genesis of my dissertation. And again, I got discouraged by lots of people, except my advisor. He's like, oh, that's interesting. Do it. And I'm like, okay, that's it. He's like, yeah, do it. And I struggled finding literature. And he's like, you're struggling finding literature because people aren't thinking about this.
Right.
Do it. Use other sets. So he just really supported me and doing exactly what I wanted to do. And, a decade later, what's one of the top topics in basketball culture? Women coaching men. What do we see happening in the NBA? Lots of women getting into the NBA, coaching on the men's side and player development.
Absolutely.
So I think, I couldn't have done that if I didn't have him supporting me. I had friends going through my program that supported me. My partner, who's now my wife, supported me, my family. So I think just really finding people that will lift you up. Sometimes it's your family, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you got to seek people in your, outside of your circle, but finding that those folks are important because there is so much a part of the PhD process that can make you feel inadequate. And I think, having that support is important. I think, other than that, what you said earlier, finding ways to affirm what you want to do, who you are, as far as your identities is super duper important. Um, and then I think being confident in your experiences and how they inform you, being confident in the histories, the experiences of Black women, and how those histories, experiences, voices are absolutely important to every aspect of everything we do in this world. And I think once you recognize that, like, even if there's never been a Black woman in this space, it doesn't matter. There needs to be one. It needs to be you, perhaps, right? So I think once you recognize the value of Black people and our experiences and our knowledge and our histories, you can accomplish anything. So, if you don't feel that, then seek out people that will help you find that and read and ask for mentorship. I mean, every person that comes to me that says, do you have time? I make time. Every Black woman that comes to me that says, I think I want to be a professor, I'm interested in a PhD. I make time. I have time for every single one of them. So seek out people like that has the time and will create the space to mentor you and support you and share the knowledge that they've learned and wisdom with you.
Ooh, I'm feeling inspired by that. Shoot, I'm feeling inspired. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being so candid and open with that, because I hope anybody that's listening is just feeling like they can do it, right? Half the battle is trying to get over your own self-doubt with anything, right? But especially when it comes to academia, it can be kind of overwhelming, especially when you have like imposter syndrome, where you're like, oh, can I do this? Or can I be in this space? I don't know.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is an interesting one, because I'm to me, imposter syndrome is a symptom of exclusionary cultures. Like, Black women don't feel imposter syndrome at the shop, right? Like when you go to the shop to get your hair done, you don't feel that, because that's a culture that affirms who you are. It respects you, it values you. You feel imposter syndrome when you go into white, male dominant spaces, because that space wasn't created for you. So it's not that you're an imposter, is that you don't, it wasn't created for you, is not there for you to belong. You literally don't belong, right? So you're having to create that space, and it gives you this feeling of being an imposter, whereas it really should be on the organization. And we really should be talking about the exclusionary cultures and organizations, not the imposter feeling that people have. But, I'm not going to get on that soapbox.
Oh, I second that. First of all, we need to change the name. Change up the name. I don't know what it can be called, but it's not necessarily on me, because I'm the minority walking up in here, right? When we talk about like organizational culture and just like overall macro lens of things and how it's so systemic. But like you said, we can go down that rabbit hole.
We could, especially you with your organizational behavior degree. I'm sure you could school me going down that.
We can go down that. We can take that offline. But to kind of tie a bow on this interview, I love to do quick fire questions. So you have to answer with one word or less, or one sentence or less. And it's like rapid. Ready?
I will do my best.
What is the favorite aspect of your job?
The people.
Ooh. Who is your favorite female athlete?
Athlete, Cynthia Cooper.
Ooh. Who are you cheering for in the NCAA tournament? Like, which teams?
I don't cheer for teams. Like, I played college basketball. I don't like any of them. I don't like any of them. I especially don't like Duke. So if it's not Stetson or Georgia Tech or UMass, then I'm not cheering for them.
Yeah, I feel that. What is a mantra that you live by?
Life is for the living.
Yes. I'm gonna have to type that. Shoot. The last question I have for you: where's the first place that you're popping up as soon as COVID's over? Like, where's the first place you're traveling to?
The first place I want to travel to, Miami Beach. I love Miami Beach. I just want to be out in the warm water where I can see my toes, not in like the New England dark, murky, cold water of the Northeast, with the sun hitting me. No emails, just living life, people watching. So I would want to be on Ocean Avenue in South Beach, people watching and eating good seafood.
Ooh, I feel that.
With the frozen beverage.
Yeah, with the frozen beverage, adult frozen beverage.
Adult frozen beverage.
Yo, thank you so much for joining us today. That is the end of our interview with Dr. Nefertiti Walker with our Women in Sports series. I'm your host, Brianna DeBose for Black Sports Network. This was amazing. Thank you for taking the time out. We really appreciate it.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.